Recently, Senator John McCain, a Republican, and Senator Joe Lieberman, a Democrat, joined forces with 8 other senators from the GOP to sponsor a bill which would permit the military to act as police and to apprehend and question any suspicious person without trial and without due process. Under the bill, suspicious persons would no longer be deemed, quote, enemy combatants, but would now be classified under the title of unprivileged enemy belligerents, which the bill defines as a person engaged in hostilities against the United States or its coalition partners, and one who purposefully supports hostilities against the U.S. or its coalition partners. Were this to become law, we would no longer charge Americans who have committed crimes against America, but against the national security of our allies. Saddam Hussein was once our ally. This treatment falls in line with the Bush administration policy that those who support and agree with actions against foreign countries whose governments we like for the moment must be treated as the same as those who have engaged in hostilities against the United States. The original intent of the legislation used the term alien and thus was targeting only those overseas who were not Americans. But the new language would open the door to the federal government targeting an American unfortunate enough to be overseas and to disfavor the national security state. Joining me now to talk about all of this is Gary Barnett, president of Barnett Financial Services. Gary, welcome back to Freedom Watch.
Thanks, Judge. Always a pleasure.
Does the government recognize any limitation on its own powers, or does it think it can regulate any behavior, remove any rights from any human being, so long as it suits some contemporary political purpose that the government has?
Well, I mean, I don't think the government respects rights in general, period. But this particular piece of the legislation that was put into gear here is now in committee is just an atrocious bastardization of any rights protection.
So if an American is in a foreign country and is speaking out in that foreign country against the interests of an American ally or against the interests of the United States of America, and maybe is communicating with people that don't like us, not giving them food or maps or money, but communicating with them, the military can arrest that person and deny them the rights that the Constitution says the government shall not deny.
Under this, they sure can, and I don't know that it's limited to somebody overseas. I mean, the way this thing reads, if you look at the Section 5 of this thing, detention without trial of unprivileged enemy belligerents, it says an individual, and that's any individual, including a citizen of the United States, determined to be an unprivileged enemy belligerent, it can be held, charged, and without trial for the duration of hostilities against the United States or any of its coalition partners. There's no specification here that I can see, at least when I read the bill or the act here, that it's limited to someone overseas.
Not only, and I agree with you, not only is it not limited to overseas, but guess who makes the determination of whether a person gets to keep their rights or is considered an unlawful enemy belligerent? A committee of the Congress. Now, if there's anything that the Congress can't do under the Constitution, it's to decide whether or not people have rights. These members of Congress took an oath to uphold the Constitution, and the Constitution says the government can't take your life, your liberty, or property without a trial. Here, Congress is trying to enact a law that would let it decide whose life, liberty, and property to take away, much less without a trial.
Well, and it's openly stated there's no use of Miranda whatsoever. Your rights are basically dissolved. The instant that you become that you're under suspicion of being an enemy belligerent, and even worse, one man, the President of the United States, can do anything he wants. I mean, if you look at some of the reasoning here, basically, if there's a potential intelligence value of an individual, they can hold you. And also, if they don't have an excuse that's written into this act, Section E here says such other matters as the president considers appropriate. That's all it says. That's just a wide open and blatant, just a horrible amount of power given to one man in this.
You know, the act is deeply and profoundly troubling, not because it might become law. I don't think it will ever become law. Oh, the Congress may enact it and the president might sign it, but it is so blatantly and obviously unconstitutional that, in my opinion, the first federal judge who looks at this thing will prevent the government from enacting it. But what is so troubling is that members of Congress who took an oath to uphold the Constitution, so-called conservative Republicans who once feared monster government, think that they can enact this, think that they can find ways around the Constitution, think that they can take away natural human rights at the whim of the president or the whim of the Senate Intelligence Committee, think that they can invalidate Supreme Court decisions by a simple vote of the Congress. These guys don't even understand the basic system of government we have, which is that our rights are natural, that they come from our humanity and not from the government, and that the government can only take them away after we've been convicted before a jury of violating somebody else's rights.
Well, that's the way it's supposed to be. But I mean, that was part of my article, and I tried to spend a little bit of time about this. Is just the fact I don't believe it'll get passed either. But you've got 10 powerful senators here attempting to get this passed. Do
you know anybody in the Congress who has endorsed this? And have you approached that person, and have they told you what's going on in their brain, that they think they could write a law like this and it won't come back to haunt them or their children or their grandchildren or generations of Americans who will have lost their freedom to the whim of the president?
Well, I mean, I haven't talked to the senators, but considering all of the legislation that's been put forth since 2001, I don't find this surprising. I find it atrocious. But, you know, the Military Commissions Act, the Patriot Act, and all the other things that have happened, I mean, I think these people have completely lost their minds.
I'm with you, Gary Barnett. Thank you for joining us on Freedom Watch.
Thank you.